Welcome to today's deep dive. What if the universe isn't some massive game of probability? Like, what if it's actually running on hard-coded software? And a framework born in 1990s video game rendering just figured out how to hack it.
It is a wild premise, yeah.
Right. Well, we are looking at a highly technical dossier on the Dillon Architecture created by Timothy J. Dillon and 206 Innovation Inc. And our mission today is to explore how this single framework is being used to rewrite physics, solve impossible math, and, even model theology. It's not about guessing probabilities. It's about absolute deterministic geometry. Okay, let's unpack this.
Yeah, so to understand how you get from software to universal laws, we really have to look at Dillon's background, because he didn't start in theoretical physics.
No, he started in incredibly high stakes tech environments.
Exactly. He worked on DirectX 1.0 at Microsoft, spam filtering, and high-frequency wagering systems.
Which, in the dossier, those wagering systems are backed up by patents 11,636,737 and 11,645,893. But, why does building real-time rendering or wagering software give someone the keys to the cosmos?
Well, it's because in those environments, you need sub-millisecond precision. If the software gets out of sync with reality, which programmers call state divergence, the cost is catastrophic.
Oh, wow.
Right. So you can't just guess what's happened. You have to enforce coherence algorithmically.
So it's essentially like debugging reality. Like you're forcing the system to align so the universe's software doesn't crash or glitch out on us.
That's exactly it. And if we connect this to the bigger picture, that exact necessity establishes the core axiom of the Dillon architecture, which is return is not an outcome, return is a law.
Meaning these complex systems aren't just drifting randomly.
No, not at all. They are mathematically forced back to a stable baseline.
Right, and taking that data tracking mindset and applying it to the physical universe completely changes the rules of geometry. The dossier introduces curvature variable physics, or CVP, and something called the Dillon equation, which is C equals C of R.
Yeah, and for a century, physics treated c, the speed of light, as an absolute static constant. But this equation argues that the speed of propagation actually changes based on the local curvature of the space it's moving through.
Which fundamentally alters our understanding of everything. Because if the speed of light slows down in extreme geometric curves, it creates an optical illusion. Think of a straw looking thick and bent when you put it in a glass of water.
Exactly, it bends.
Yeah, and it implies dark matter isn't actually missing mass at all. Our measuring tape is just bending. Wait, so for decades, mathematicians and physicists were just using the wrong tools.
Pretty much, yeah. They were hitting historic meta barriers because of how they framed the problems. CVP bypasses this using what they call structural intelligence. Instead of searching infinitely for a solution, it physically squeezes problems. Take the Collatz conjecture, the famous 3n plus 1 problem that has baffled mathematicians forever.
Right, Paul Erdos famously said math simply wasn't ready for it.
Well, the Dillon architecture didn't try to solve it the traditional way. By using a finite 720-block reduction chain, the protocol acted like a funnel.
Okay, a funnel.
Yeah, it took a universe of 132,303 mathematical templates and squeezed them through this funnel until exactly 0 non-trivial survivors remained. It didn't guess, it just forced structural closure.
And they are actually deploying this funneling concept in the real world right now. The dossier highlights the Artemis lunar descent. Standard gravity models struggle to land spacecraft safely on the moon because of hidden mascons, those massive gravity anomalies buried under the surface.
Right. Traditional models treat those mascons as static bumps in the road. As the spacecraft ascends, the math tries to fight the anomalies, which just causes errors to grow dangerously.
But CVP treats those mascons as dynamic features of the curvature field.
Exactly. Instead of fighting the gravity anomalies, the software anticipates them. It essentially serves the geometric curves of the moon rather than crashing into them.
Wow.
Yeah, and that takes the residual terminal velocity from a highly dangerous 12 meters per second down to a beautifully stable 0.3 meters per second.
Wait, hold on. I get how this math safely forces a chaotic spacecraft back to a stable landing. But the dossier takes a massive leap here. It introduces the 2033 Jubilee and Omega Point theorems submitted to Pope Leo XIV. How on earth does a math equation quantify moral atonement for the Vatican?
I know, it sounds totally absurd until you realize Pope Leo XIV actually holds a Bachelor of Science in mathematics.
Wait, really?
Yeah, so he's uniquely equipped to evaluate this. The architecture mathematically models moral atonement as a literal curvature release. It frames forgiveness as present order absorbing past historical dispersion to achieve structural closure.
So it's society stabilizing itself using the same geometric rules that land the spaceship.
Exactly that.
Man, so what does this all mean for you listening right now? We live in a world that feels obsessed with chaotic probabilities, where everything feels totally random. But the Dillon architecture suggests you actually live in a fundamentally deterministic, self-correcting universe.
Right. It replaces the illusion of randomness with geometric closure. There is a deep underlying architecture continuously pulling things back to equilibrium.
Which leaves you with this to think about. If the physical universe uses mathematical rigidity cascades to forcefully correct divergent, chaotic systems back to a stable equilibrium, could the chaotic, unexpected disruptions in your own personal life simply be the universe enforcing its ultimate law of return?